everyone, Draco Magnius here for another episode of Let's Play Omen Exitio Plague. In the last episode, we were starting to leave Holland, and we packed up all our stuff, we're thinking about what we were going to do, and we got a mysterious message that said to beware, so we armed ourselves, prepped for the worst, and got attacked and kidnapped by cultists. Well, we've just managed to escape, and now we're going to see what's in this room we just opened up. The Club of Stone Masks. Warily, you push the door and enter the room. You find yourself in a large room with a huge library, leather armchairs, and sumptuous furnishings. It looks like a lounge of any of the more prestigious gentlemen's clubs in London. Men and women are sitting around quietly conversing. Although they are dressed in the same bizarre clothes which you are now familiar, grinning stone masks, kilts, that bizarre little skull cap, their posture and overall bearing seem to identify them as nobility. On their wrists, they have the same tattoo, an eye, a shape reminiscent of an eye. You know that you've seen that tattoo before in Zanzibar. It cannot be a coincidence. So they've been watching you for some time. You remember something else. The almost identical symbol you saw in a book about ancient Egyptians in London. What could the connection be? The atmosphere is extremely surreal. They are acting as if you were not even there. Finally, someone notices you. Dr. Huntington, finally you have decided to join us. His voice is muffled by the mask. I probably should have done something to do that, but I can. And he makes a gesture for you to sit in a nearby armchair. Everyone present turns to look at you through the dark holes in their masks. On the table in front of you, there's a glass of red wine, which you are sure is of the finest quality. You do not dare to take it, but rather listen carefully to the masked man who's speaking to you. Dr. Huntington, let us not get off on the wrong foot. I can imagine you have many questions. I can assure you, if you make the right choices, there will be a time when you will be given all the answers you seek, and many that as of yet you do not. You can feel all the people in the room staring at you, analyzing you. After spending days in your luxurious prison, you know that you are unlikely to gain anything with a direct attack. Yet there's something familiar about that voice. Though it's muffled, its tone and phrasing remind you of one you've heard before. There's a strange accent, but the distortion makes it difficult to identify. But the height and body size match well. Could the man who's addressing you actually be Meyer? Huh. I actually guessed correctly. Huh. I will have no answers then. You know what? Fuck it. Let's let him monologue. Why not? Answers will come. First of all, to have them, you must make choices. Hopefully the right ones. We do, however, have at least one objective in common. For now, you have no room to maneuver. And he is at pains to point that out to you. However, the mere fact that you are still alive means that somehow they need you. You let the man continue. We are, let's say, a very exclusive club. Our members come from the elite of many different specialties and different parts of the world. We include nobility, entrepreneurs, and military men. Even some like you from the world of science. have been active as a group We have been active as a group for a very long time. Although that goes back countless generations. We have always had a significant influence on all major historical events, and now we are close to achieving what could be termed a new level of influence. You're listening to his words. You wish it was possible to write them off as those of a madman, but you cannot. In fact, they seem to describe a world very close to that which you have been imagining. Certain resources and unique capabilities allow access to our group. Capabilities such as your own, Dr. Huntington. You are an intelligent man, Doctor. I do not imagine that I need to tell you just how many advantages there are for you once you have decided to join us. Meta new character, journal, blah, blah, blah. Well, first I gotta look at my character sheet. Okay. And I'm curious, new character? It's just Meyer wearing a mask. Member of the cult, he is the only one addressing you directly in the mysterious club where you have been forced to attend. He wears a stone mask that alters his voice, but he has a strong German accent. Might he be Meyer? No fucking shit! Well, I'm gonna hold my tongue. I'm glad that the options are reject or wait. Because if it was just a choice between reject or wholeheartedly commit, I'd be very angry right now. We have very little information. We know that this is a cult about control. So the fact they're giving you a chance is something pretty special. But at the same time, you're not quite sure what you're dealing with yet. So just saying, fuck yeah, let's go would be a horrible decision. So let's wait. We are not here to force you, Dr. Huntington, and we will give you some time to consider it. We will see you here tomorrow. In the meantime, please enjoy our hospitality. As he speaks, he gets up. Several other members of the club are already moving toward a door at the very back of the room, and he cues behind them. You start in their direction too, but your way is quickly blocked by another masked man. He is silently pointing at the door behind you, the one from which you came, with a particularly muscular arm. Why would I do that? That's dumb. Fucking leave. You start moving back toward the door to the corridor, turning to look at Excuse me. Turning to look at last to leave the room. The heavy-set man who pointed you back to your room. He's probably under orders not to kill you, but it's probably better not to risk it. He might even have some of those damn paralyzing needles. Entering the corridor, you find the door of your room open, and going inside, your eyes widen at what you find there. There is a wonderful 5-course feast of fine food, including quail and other such dishes, some that you don't even recognize. You have only just crossed the threshold when the door closes behind you. You need not check to know that it's locked again. You awaken from tormented sleep, full of nightmares which you can barely remember. You are left with distressing intimations of dark and ominous forms. But any sort of concrete images fades immediately away. When you calm down a little, you see that the door to the corridor is wide open. You can see into the corridor and even a part of the door which you know leads to the club. You presume that door is also unlocked. Alright, I still got a ways to go if I want to buff my medicine next. But I'm debating whether or not I want to... I'm probably just going to dedicate to medicine next. Just to make sure my stats stay leveled out, you know? Wait, I'm curious now. Where's my notes? There's my notes. the club. Blah, 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 and yeah, it could be Meyer, but you're not certain. I mean, it's clearly an invitation, and this organization seems well knit enough that odds are all of these other doors are fucking locked. I'd just be wasting time going around looking. Let's fucking go. You enter the corridor and approach the door. The handle turns easily, and once again you are in the elegant hall filled with masked people chatting quietly or reading. A woman approaches you and slips a wine glass in your hand, touches it with her own, and then pours some of her wine into the black grinning lips of her masks. Having concluded this bizarre toast, she leaves.
Dr. Huntington, please make yourself comfortable.
With his one hand, I'm sorry, I didn't need my hand over my mouth for that. With his one hand, he points to an armchair, while with the other, he gestures to include the whole room. The books, a rich buffet, a small bar, and an area with smoking equipment. You were expecting further speeches, but the half-naked men and women ignore you entirely. Fuck it. I'll take a seat in an armchair, why the fuck not? You decide to sink into the comfortable plush of an armchair and observe the various goings-on. If not for the unclothed torsos and unsettling masks, the situation in this room would be absolutely normal. Almost rather banal. Some people engage in small talk, while others help themselves to the buffet bar or smoke their pipes. You listen to some of the conversations in English nearby, but you're instantly bored stiff by the vacuity and jeunesse? No idea what that word is or means, so we're gonna move on. Of the discussions, typical of any pub or gentleman's club in London. Indeed, the only real difference between this and a gentleman's club, aside from the shocking state of undress, of course, is the presence of ladies. A people's club, if you will, instead of a gentleman's club. You cannot help but see it all as a pantomime, some kind of play, but you try to stay alert for clues nonetheless. In the end, you fall asleep, only to be woken sometime later by the sound of a bell. At the sound of the bell, all of the members leave the room. Again, you are surprised. But then, after a few moments, the heavy-built member of the club reappears and again points to the door. Evidently, you are not allowed to be in the room alone. You go back to your room. Days pass thus. Each time your door opens, the room is available to you, but only when occupied by members of the club. You visit every time. You are welcomed and greeted, but no one speaks to you directly. You have been to the room of the club several times now, with the implicit understanding that if you stop going, you'll stop receiving food. You cannot fathom the intentions of these strange people, but at least not until you see a series of newspaper article clippings intentionally placed at the entrance of the hall. They're all articles about accidents involving the supposedly random disappearances of famous people. Overturned carriages, fatal beatings by thugs, and arson attacks. The dates of the origins of the newspapers from which they have been taken differ widely. Studying them carefully, you almost want to smile. The message, the threat they imply, is clear. Crystal clear.
Well, Dr. Huntington, what do you think of our club?
At this point, it's clear that your only option is to pretend to play along. I believe I was mistaken. I am interested in your offer after all. Or, bold, what do I have to do to become a member? Let's just be cautious.
We are pleased to hear that, Dr. Huntington. We knew you would come around to the reason sooner or later.
Well, now I'm curious what the achievement I failed was. Go whole hog? Stockholm Syndrome. That makes sense. Verbovolent script a minute. Notes your research. Okay. So I failed 2... Well, technically I failed 3 achievements so far on this little line of reasoning. Which is a bit of a bummer, but I don't feel so bad about not getting Stockholm Syndrome. You've caused some trouble to your jailers and tried to rebel during your imprisonment. I mean, I really didn't. I just sort of went along with it, except I didn't go whole hog into the club. All conversations in the room have suddenly fallen silent. All the masks are turned towards you, but you pretend not to have noticed.
I suggest you go to your room and get some rest, Dr. Huntington. Tomorrow, you will awaken to your new life. Then, you may begin to receive some of the answers which you so desire.
For the umpteenth time, you watch as the members of the club slowly leave the room, followed by your interlocutor. This time, you are left entirely alone. Even the muscular guard is left with the others. Following the advice you have just been given, you head back into your room. Well, of course. The guard doesn't see a fucking point in staying anymore. You've shown that you're willing to cooperate. I mean, it's no fucking duh. Your dreams were chaotic and fragmented. You wake up slightly dizzy and tense. On the table, there has appeared a folded piece of paper. And on the chair are the clothes in which you awoke here for the first time. After dressing, you take a look at the sheet of paper. It contains instructions that tell you when and how to contact the cult. If the date mentioned in the text is near, you calculate that you have spent nearly 3 weeks in this prison. You fold and pocket the paper and go out into the hallway. You try the door of the club, but this time it is locked. Try another, but it is also locked. Strange. You try one more door. This time the door opens, and you are immediately struck by the natural light and fresh air. You stumble out, drunk for a few moments, on the fresh air and liberty. You find yourself on a small, rather sordid alleyway, coming out onto a main road. You see something which lifts your spirits even further. Through the light fog, you see an unmistakable profile, the clock tower of Big Ben. All this time, thinking that you were in some club in Delft with a very London atmosphere, you were in fact in London all along! I'm going to explore the surrounding streets a little bit, get my bearings. You feel a desire to walk a little, to re-establish contact with reality. Your captivity over the last few weeks makes everything around you seem hollow and artificial. What has happened to reality? Now, you are aware that the world around you hides more secrets than you could have imagined. Soon you find yourself wandering without purpose or destination. You feel eyes watching you constantly. After the first exhilarating moments, the city seems to you now alien and oppressive, before you are overcome by this creeping sense of paranoia. You call a handsome cab and head home. What makes the cab so handsome? Strategies for Judgment Day. Your study seems small to you now, cold and foreign. Your encounter with the sect has made everything from your old reality appear fake. You pick up a photographic portrait of Helen, looking for something to hold on to, but even her memory seems distant now. That's sad. Zanzibar, the epidemic, Delft, and the meeting with the sect? Darkness has begun to consume your very life. It seems completely insane. Ironically, the only coherent thing in all this chaos is the bizarre cult itself. Reflecting on recent events, you think it increasingly likely that the Germans who gave you the money are members of this cult. It would be a logical assumption. Thus, whether you like it or not, you have already collaborated with them. After this, though, you have another, which makes you angry. You cannot help but feel that you have been at the mercy of events beyond your control. That you have been controlled and used as a tool. You must somehow regain control of your life. You have 3 more days before you must meet the sect again, and you must prepare yourself. You toy with the thought of accepting their proposal. Why should it be so absurd? You pace the house, thinking, trying to clear your head, when you notice a letter on the table in the hall. The envelope is entirely blank. You pick it up with a curious sense of expectation. Dear Jake, unfortunately my warnings proved to be of little use. As I write, I understand that you have been taken captive by the man Hostalic. Hostalic? Hostalic. Yeah, that sounds right. The Mad Hostalic cult. They will not harm you, at least not physically, and will not keep you locked up for long. Their sole purpose is to seduce you and bend you to their will. Words of this mysterious informant seem almost in mockery, and your initial reaction is to throw the letter into the fire. There are 2 things which strike you as interesting, though. First, the letter speaks definitively of a cult, the religious implications of which disturb you greatly. And secondly, it mentions a peculiar name, completely unfamiliar to you. Who, or what, is Hostilic? The comet approaches, and they're hurrying. This is to our advantage, Jake. With your intelligence and inner strength, it will not be easy for them to brainwash you. I know, too, that you are to meet with them shortly for your initiation. Another piece of information that sounds absurd. Recalling ancient and primitive beliefs and superstitions? A comet? If you have not yet been corrupted by their influence, this may well be your best chance. It would be the ideal moment to deal them a decisive blow. It could perhaps even destroy them. This time, you could have support, however. Hang a strip of white cloth from your window to let me know. A friend. Well, first things first. Medicine. There we go. Hostile cult. Just wanted to get rid of all the shining icons. I meant to hit this. You reflect on the letter's contents. Most of all, you're wondering whether the informant really does have your best interest at heart. Throw the letter in the fire. The informant seems to want to brainwash you himself. Agree, they must be stopped. So, this is a tough call to make, really. Like, the Hostilic cult did basically kidnap you, but they didn't treat you unfairly. Like, you got really good meals, you got to hang out with them, I guess. Basically just sit around in their club, shoot the shit, read books, smoke a little bit, drink a little bit, all incredibly fine. So they haven't really done anything to hurt you. Like he says, this is all a ploy to seduce you, which means something sinister could be happening somewhere down the line. Like, as of right now, all they've done for you is fan-fucking-tastic. Aside from, the casual kidnapping and making you seem like a loon to the rest of the community, the scientific community. This person in the letters did try to warn you, though, before they kidnapped you. So either A, he's an insider, which makes no sense as to why he would try to fucking tell you, hey, you shouldn't get with his cult, if he is part of that cult. Or B, he knows much more about this than we currently know, and we could get more insight by partnering with him. So I'm gonna agree. But, at the same time, the club hasn't done anything to hurt you, but this is a Lovecraftian horror game, and it's a cult. So, odds are there's going to be some murder of some people down the line that they're going to ask you to do, or you're going to have to sacrifice your sanity to some other such being, or, you know, all that fun stuff. You reread the letter. You're unsure as to whether or not this mysterious informant can be trusted. But it seems clear you have a common enemy, that which he calls the Cult of Hostilic. The cult is a threat. You are still unclear as to its intentions and objectives, but you now know that something must be done to stop it. You've always considered yourself a man of principle, and this is not the time to back down. However, it would be unreasonable to assume you can act effectively only by yourself. I'm gonna call Smith. He's a strong man and he can help. And he offered to help us regardless. Reginald is a good man. He's a cool guy. He's very fun and upbeat. I don't think this is the sort of job you call Reginald for. You call Reginald to help you with research, or to help you finish a fine meal. You call Smith because he's agreed to life debt because you saved his kid. You call a hansom cab and have it take you to the address which Smith gave you. On arrival at the front door, you suddenly feel worried. How will your old captain react to what you have to tell him? In the event, Smith appears straight away and opens the door. With an unusually jovial smile, he shakes your hand vigorously and with a sweeping motion, gestures you inside. I wish I had something better to talk to you about, Smith, but we gotta go do some creepy-ass shit. As you continue to stare at the cup of tea in your hands, but with which you have not yet sipped, you recount the incredible story of your encounter with the cult. Finally, you explain what it is you intend to do. Oh hey, kept promise. Smith listens in silence to your every word. While you were speaking, he does not seem particularly credulous, but when you have finished, he makes no comment to that effect. He owes you that much. You arrange a time and a place to meet and shake hands once more. You are pleased that you were able to garner support for what you have to do. Alone, you might even have given up, or done something unwise. You prepare yourself for the confrontation. You try mentally to draw up a plan, to turn everything into a logical sequence of actions and events. Not only to be able to act more effectively, but also to anticipate any unexpected weaknesses. If you want to succeed, you will have to be as calculating as possible. You ascend the stairs and get ready to put the agreed signal at the window. Despite not fully trusting your ally, you do believe he is hostile to the cult. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy. If it's fucking Meyer, I'm gonna be annoyed. There's someone at the door. Only one night has passed since you hung the signal at the window. You open the door and find a messenger. He is a stocky black man with penetrating eyes, and he is holding a package. As soon as he has given it to you, he is gone, without even waiting for a tip. You slowly open the strange box containing various items and a note. The note details certain chemicals to be purchased, and there are instructions for assembling the whole into a small explosive. You do not need any further explanation. Well, it's a good thing I recently buffed my medicine then, huh? I don't know how exactly you use medicine to build a bomb, but okay. You are sitting in your study preparing to build the device. By reading the instructions, you assemble the components, carefully mix the chemicals, and even more carefully pour them into a central part. The whole thing is a very delicate operation and takes considerable time. After several hours of work, you have successfully put together something bizarre looking and slightly disturbing. The bomb is ready. Along with the instructions for the device, there are also instructions for the preparations of a fireproof ointment spread on your body. You're prepared you prepare this too, with all due care. Hey, ready for war. Someone knocks at the door. It's Smith. You invite him in and offer him some Dutch courage. While sipping your spirit, Smith shows you what he's hiding in a large bundle. A very strange rifle indeed. It's called a Madison. It's sort of a portable machine gun. It's only a prototype, but I have my channels, and this, I imagine, is a good time as any for a test. Don't mind me checking my stats. I'm above my fighting. I haven't in a while. It's obviously my lowest stat, but I'm gonna put points into it. Because obvious fuckingly I'm going to do that. Maybe I should have saved up for speechcraft, because I might need that for subtlety, but we'll fucking see. The IED. An incendiary bomb you've built following the mysterious informant's instructions, who we still have no idea who the fuck he is. Sure, it'd be nice to know who the fuck he is, but... Mr. Huntington's Rebirth. But with that, I think we're going to end this episode here. In the next one, we're going to confront the... With that, we're going to end this episode here. In the next episode, we confront the cult of Hostilic. See you guys then.